pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give them a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever.
Oh, shit.
It'll go up easy, but it's gonna... Fuck. Oh.
Hey, how you doing? This is another episode of That Dude Phil, and I'm going to bring topics to you that are of concern to me. It may not be on any one particular subject, but I'll let you know that subject way before you get too far into the video itself. So the reason why we're here today, well, I've been looking at YouTube often, especially because I'm getting this new Altis Sigma bike, and one of the big topics, and I'm not even going to say topics because it really hasn't been a topic lately, is I've seen a lot of people crashing on these things. And, I'm not too old, but again, I'm not young too. But one of the big things that concern me is, what kind of safety concerns should I have? And is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? What do the statistics look like for these particular, type of vehicles? They go fast, they have a lot of weight to them, and it's not like riding a traditional bike. Now, I'm not going to down e-motos because I'm about to get one myself, but that is of a little bit concern because I want to see what problems I could run into and what things could happen to me so that I'm at least more aware. And I think if I'm more aware, I can be more safe. So let's take a look at the quick stats that we see here for e-motos. All right, let's talk about injury rates. How often are people getting messed up on these things? I see a lot of videos, and if you can see the clips that we're talking about, there's a lot of people that just crash for, I think, almost not stupid reasons, common reasons, but I guess what you have to ask yourself is, are the reasons that are common because of education or common because of a problem with the bike itself? And I think it's more so the latter, education. Education is very, very important. So a study came out and it has data. And I think the interesting point of this whole thing is in the year 2022 alone, there has been nearly half, almost 46% of all estimated e-bike injuries have occurred just in 2022 alone, are more than or half as much as what the injuries were from 2017 to 2022. That is a lot, right? So one might ask, what happened between 2017 to 2022 that's different from now, right? And when I look at that, the big things that I notice is that these e-bikes are getting faster, they're getting heavier, and understand that I know that a lot of people aren't happy about the regulation that's happening to them right now. Is it necessary? It's only the people that are not responsible for it that ultimately cause more regulation going across the whole industry. And for people that actually abide by the rules or even are more considerate when using common sense, just pure common sense on the road, I think that they pay the price. I pay the price for the idiots that are, doing just wild stuff. And I'm not going to get on to any particular people as far as like stunning, or I think that's really cool. I think, if I could do it, would I do it? Yes. Would I do it in the middle of an intersection with school kids and 50 cars? Probably not. And I know that sounds like an extreme, but it still happens. And so let's dive further into this reasoning. Why is it that we reached 48% of the total numbers between 2017 to 2022 in a matter of just 1 year? Why is this? What causes e-bikes to be, I'm going to use this word loose, dangerous as gas-powered bikes? Is there a big difference? So based off of what I gathered from lawmoto.com, And this is where I'm getting this information from. Based off of what I'm seeing from lawbike.com, the general consensus is that e-bikes have the same inherent problems. Based off of what I'm seeing, e-bikes have the same type of inherent risk that motorbikes do. So when you talk about, bike operation, what are you hearing? Okay, so for motorbikes, you may think of things more like noise pollution and how fast they go. So talking about e-bikes as opposed to gas-powered bikes, uh, e-bikes carry a unique safety concern that gas-powered bikes generally don't. And the main thing that I would like to call out is how quiet they are. Motorbikes, because they're so loud, or they're louder than e-bikes, when an e-bike is cruising through the city or cruising down a trail, it carries more risk because no one can hear it coming. Yeah, you have chain rattle noise, but it's nowhere near as loud as what a motorbike would do, right? So that's one problem that can be an issue for both you as a rider and those around you, even other cyclists that may not be able to hear you as well. When people ride in groups, I think that if you have no way of hearing who's coming up behind you because it's really soft or not noisy, you have more of a risk of turning into them or making a sudden move that might cause a problem with that. Now, is your training saying, okay, well, if you're riding with a group of people, let's not start swerving all over the place because we may run into someone that's coming up behind us. But you have to look at it from an offensive standpoint as well. If you're driving a e-bike down the road and you're riding with a group of people, swerving around those people and trying to do stunts around a tightly set group of people probably isn't the best things. Because you may have some guy on the side of you that may start a wheelie and you're not paying attention, and next thing you know, you turn over, boom, you run right into this guy. And it doesn't just injure yourself, but it injures him and probably those around. If there's more people in the back, they can end up crashing into you too. So that is a big concern. Another thing that works against e-motos is that with e-motos, they're very powerful but very light. What does this mean? It means you can accelerate really fast. And if you've seen some of the videos that Sir Ronster has done, he just came out with a video comparing the Altis Sigma to Hellcats namely because of the speed and how fast that torque picks up and how fast you can take off. If you can catch up and beat a Hellcat off the line damn near with a e-moto, imagine how much force that would be on a body if you take off and run into them, or you run into something else and you're just on a bike with very much not that much protection. Just inherently, because of the bike itself, you don't have that extra stuff around you, right? So, how important is it going to be for you to wear safety devices, safety equipment to prevent that, right? When it comes down to how safe electric bikes are, you have to take the positive and the negative with it as well. Although it might be quiet, you do have positives that work in its favor as well. With the making of these new e-bikes that go faster and a little bit heavier, the batteries themselves weigh a lot more, which means the center of gravity for a lot of these e-bikes are going to be lower than, say, that of a traditional bike. And when the center of gravity is lower on a e-bike, it makes the e-bike a little bit more stable to ride and more controllable, which gives you a more enhanced safety availability to an e-bike, because you're less likely to flip over or turn over or have a bigger accident. Some of the things you might consider before and even now that you may already have an e-bike is, how can I prevent or lower the risk of getting into an accident? Well, one of the things you need to do is become a little bit more knowledgeable as some of the things that can affect you as opposed to someone else that may be in a vehicle or even a heavier bike. With an e-bike, you have a very limited amount of protection that's surrounding you. There's no cage around you. There's nothing protecting you from, say, another car, a frame, and a car if it were to hit you, or even a tree. This itself can be very uh, dangerous to you if you're riding at excessive speeds. you may feel like you have control over a bike, but you know, you never know. You hit a root, you hit black ice, you hit some loose sand, and some of these things may be actually more inherent for you as an e-bike rider as opposed to someone on a larger bike that has more weight or a car that has protective things that go around it, right? So if you hit something or something hits you, you have somewhat of a cage around you, right? That's one issue. Another issue is increased speed, and we touched on this earlier. Because e-bikes are so light and they have these more powerful motors, even with the Altis Sigma, which I should be getting tomorrow, you have an increased speed and torque that allows you to, even with having a heavy battery and no motor, the weight of an e-bike is that more of, say, a traditional bicycles because you have that motor, because you have that battery, which if you want to take into consideration, that's a lot more weight. So if you are speeding and you're having a good time, if you're not aware of your stopping rate, how fast you can stop the bike, you might not be aware of the braking distance that when you put pressure against the rotors, you may not be able to stop as fast as, say, a traditional bike, which weighs less. And you may not be able to stop as fast as a motorcycle, which even though it has more weight and it has a larger motor in general, it has a stronger braking system, which will allow it to stop sooner than, say, you would flying down a road going 70 miles an hour on an e-bike that weighs as much as a light paperweight compared to a motorbike. Another thing that might come of concern as well is the auditory awareness. You know, how much can you hear? With e-bikes in general, they're a lot more quiet. So when you're riding your e-bike around, even if you're on a trail, other people may not hear you. Other bikers may not hear you. And God forbid, if you are flying through one of these trails and you have someone that's on a pedal bike, mountain bike that may be flying down a hill, they will not hear you and you will not hear them. Thus, it causes a predicament in which you will have a better chance of possibly slamming into these people or damaging yourself and running off the side of a path or a rut and end up crashing. And you want to at least be aware of those particular problems that can occur, especially while riding on an e-bike. And on the road, you face the same problem because, like we mentioned on the trail, you may not have uh, the auditory response from other people being able to hear you, but likewise on the road, cars definitely won't be able to hear you. And if you're riding in a pack, the people behind you, or even if you're riding in a pack with other e-bikes, you may not hear the e-bike coming up from behind you because Joe wants to go 70 miles an hour when everyone else is going 40, now causing a potential risk not to just you, but you and him and all the other bikers around you. So that's a big concern too. One of the things I plan on doing to address this with the Alta Sigma that I'm getting is putting a camera system on and more visibility so I can see what's coming up behind me. And I have some way of telling the tale of the tape moving forward if I run into someone because I'll have the camera on the front as well. Is it a little bit overdoing it? Probably so, but when it comes to cameras, at least you have some type of say and reconstructing what happened so that if you are blamed for one of these accidents, at least you have some type of proof. So again, one of the first things I'm going to be doing is putting a camera on my bike as well. Is it extra? Yeah, but guess what? I'm Phil. I'm that dude. So I'm going to go for it. Are e-bikes safe for senior citizens, older people? I am not what I would want to consider a senior citizen, but I'm not a teenager as well. As far as senior citizens, I've seen people say that, they've seen people, 70 years old that, ride their e-bike and there's no issue. I think that classifying all e-bikes as being this lightweight thing that a 70-year-old can ride around on is very thoughtless because if you have a bike that travels a substantial amount more of speed than say a traditional e-bike that pedals, you're going to be going a lot slower and there's going to be a lot wait to stop, which if you are a senior citizen may be detrimental to your ride and how the way you process things if something's coming at you to avoid an accident, because you won't have that time to be able to stop or react to what's coming up. So my personal thoughts is if you are a senior citizen or you're an older person, you know, an e-bike itself is not a unsafe thing, but the type of e-bike and how you and where are you riding this bike would probably be the most important thing, which would affect your safety and compatibility with being an older person and riding one of these bikes as being that just is so fast. On the opposite end of that spectrum, you have 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds riding these things. And I think it's really cool that getting into the sport at a younger age gives you a higher chance of building more experience than, say, someone like me that may just be getting into it. But while that is the case, I think that the judgment calls that someone, say, a 12-year-old might make as opposed to someone that's, say, 18, not saying that you have to be 18 to ride, might be a little bit different. When you're younger, you have a higher appetite for risk, which may cause you to perform a little bit differently, do things that you would otherwise not do if you were an older rider. So that is a big concern for me. Not only that, when I'm driving my personal vehicle, and if I see a biker that is on an e-bike going, my Altis Sigma could go up to 70 miles an hour, but if I see a 12-year-old going 70 miles an hour on an e-bike down a road that has cars flying down it as well, my big concern is that they may take a risk that they would otherwise not take if they were older. So that's a big concern for me. Should we regulate bikes to say, okay, well, older people or younger people can't ride them because of their age? I don't think so. I don't think it's that cut and dry. But I do think the discussion needs to come up of how we protect our kids and how older citizens that ride e-motos may protect themselves, even if it's the right environment or the wrong environment. We all know what safe is. We all know what unsafe is. So it's up to us to really clarify that in such a way that we can all be safe, and that e-moto regulations doesn't cover a whole blanket, which will make it uncomfortable for experienced riders and put them on the same level as unexperienced riders. So that is a big concern for me as well. So with the information I'm presenting to you today, you can either take it and say, okay, well, yeah, this is a real thing, or say, you know what, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It is what it is. But let me do this. Let me give you the stats. Let's see what's really going on. All right. In 2022, there were 23,493 e-bike injuries, right? And this can range from major to very minor injuries, but still nonetheless injuries in 2022. That has been actually an increase from 2021, up 21%. And I think mainly because these bikes have been getting faster and they've been getting heavier, which makes them a little bit harder to control or harder to stop without proper training and without properly using it in a safe way, right? This is not good. Common injuries that cover this have been anywhere from broken bones, head injuries, and blunt force injuries that may occur because these things are moving so fast that when you hit something without that protection around you, you really hit it and there's nothing to protect you. So you feel the full force of whatever it is that's hitting or what's ever hitting you. Between 2018 and 2022, there were 104 e-bike related fatalities. These fatalities have increased by 200% between 2020 as opposed to all of the rest of the years that these have occurred. This is a big thing. If e-bikes have increased 200% in 2020 as opposed to what's happening before 2020, that means that these things are getting faster and heavier, and that you have a higher chance of killing yourself if you're doing something dumb. Me personally, I'm over safe. I'd rather be overly safe than not safe at all. I just had a friend, not just had a friend, but I did have a friend that I knew. He died riding a bike. He hit a tree. and it snapped his neck, you know? If you are riding one of these bikes and you are a kid, say you weigh 75 pounds as opposed to an adult, which may weigh upwards of around 175, 200 pounds, the bike itself is going to be harder to control, but then you'll have the force of that bike propelling you. And if it's propelling you going 70 miles an hour and you weigh, 70 pounds, or how much does an average 12-year-old weigh? I don't know, say 100 pounds. You know what? Let's look it up. So to put that in perspective, the average weight of a 12-year-old boy is roughly around 92 pounds. So if the now, I'm not a physics expert, I don't claim to be, but if you have a 92-pound person riding a 200-pound bike that slams into a car going 70 miles an hour, or into anything for that matter, going 70 miles an hour, let's even drop it down, 30 miles an hour, that person that weighs 98 pounds is going to be a little bit less protected than someone that weighs 200 pounds with the ability to stop, or if they hit something, it won't affect them as much as someone that is heavier, right? Yes, you have momentum and you have speed. I had a friend of mine who had a daughter who was kicked by a horse. Because her body was so light, the force from the horse kicking her threw her back, which actually saved her life instead of hitting the horse stopping with all that power against her head and cracking it open. So being lighter may be a little bit helpful depending on what type of crash it is. But unlike a lot of other people, I think that I don't really care to see if a 98-pound person, as opposed to a 200-pound person, will kill themselves riding on an e-bike and crashing into something. I don't think I like those statistics, but I'm not going to test it out either. Would be interesting to see how to avoid these things. This is probably one of the reasons why I'm going to enroll myself into a safety class. I want to know how to ride responsibly. I want to know different techniques that may keep me on the bike and make me safer when I'm riding on a trail or on a road. These are some of the things that you have to take into account that you might want to sign up for in your area. In addition to that 200% increase from 2020 as opposed to the years before, there was only a 77% increase from 2020 to 2021, with a 31% increase going from 2021 to 2022. What's happening? This means that more people are hurting themselves and worse and causing fatalities now, more so now than before. Another thing to keep into context in this is that the number of e-bikes being sold has increased triple-fold. Back in 2019, the amount of e-bikes sold was roughly around 287,000, as opposed to 2022, where that number has grown to 1.1 million. It's 1.1 million people that have bought these things that are riding all over the place, and God knows you don't know how they're riding, how they're trained, and what they're going to do, and how safely they're using their bikes on the road as well. This is a big concern. Part of what I'm going to do in some of these videos is I'm going to review safety options or safety things that might help you survive, or at least take one of these crashes and not be as injured as if you didn't have one of these safety devices as well. That would be helmets and body armor, gloves, the right riding boots, but all of these different aspects that will increase your ability to ride. Now, do I think being geared up with any and everything is safe? It probably won't be as safe as someone that has the right amount of gear, which will not prohibit them from riding or constrict them from riding, which will cause an accident, but give you that right balance and where you can move around and keep that maneuverability while protecting yourself at the same time. So part of what we're going to do in these videos is review some of these things that might help protect you and possibly save your life, or save someone else's life, because you've increased your awareness by having one of these things on and telling what's going on around you so you don't cause injuries to others. We all have to be responsible. This is a very important thing. I just got this bike. It's an Altis Sigma. It's fast as all hell. I want to make sure I can ride it, not just responsibly, but I'm not restricted because someone down the road decided to go 70 miles an hour in a 35 and hit a kid. I would rather have it so that most people were more educated and more aware of their surroundings with less regulation on these e-bikes, which will allow people to ride safe and have that equal balance of safety and maneuverability, which is a benefit to the community as opposed to a detriment when you have someone with either no protection or too much protection, which may restrict the maneuverability of the bike, which causes more problems. This is a real thing. And this is why I'm going to start investing in doing some of these reviews on some of these things. Like, this is a jacket that is essentially full of this armor, which allows you to quickly put it on and take it off. And you don't have to struggle around with different pieces that may make it a little bit more of a task to take it on and off of your body. But again, something that might be very, very helpful to you. So in these future videos, I'm going to be reviewing this and products like this to see what helps and what doesn't help, what actually works and what might not work on some of these e-bike related things. Well, this is it. Thank you for giving me your time and attention. This is just one topic of many that I'll be going over of different things that are e-bike related or safety related. Thank you for joining in. And this is going to be one of a beginning of a lot of different series on things like the protective clothing that we talked about and other things. I plan on reviewing these so that I give you the best choices and reviews and also statistics so that you can remain safe yourself and remain safe around others while riding. Thank you. All right. Well, this is it. You have a nice day. And again, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll keep you up to date as to all these things I'm coming across. And if you listen to my channel, you can hear up-to-date videos of new things that are occurring that you might be interested in as well. So make sure you hit the bell so you can get notified when I put up new information on products and or information concerning safety with e-bikes and other things as well. Thank you. All right. See you later, man.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give them a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever.